Hello, everybody. Welcome to Courage, Dear Heart. This is Charlie Wall live streaming in my free Facebook group, the Freedom Group, and I'm joined by the very lovely Rob Cook. Hello, Rob.
Hey Charlie, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's my last day before my break for my Christmas. How are you?
Okay. Um, I think I'm gonna take a break. I think so. I think I am. Yeah, I'm getting close.
Okay, good,
I
good.
might take the break after Christmas, but it's gonna still be a Christmas break.
Oh, right. That's unusual, not one I've heard before.
Yeah, it's a weird way of doing it.
Well, it's just a way, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's
It's
just a
like right
way.
now I'm flowing. Like the things I'm layering and putting, it's flowing, and it's like, well, let's just keep the faucet on for a while.
I
And
like
once it's
that.
off, then we'll go down, we'll sleep and rest and do all that stuff.
No, I like that. I really do. Anyway, before we get into that, I really want to ask you a question that I ask all my guests. My podcast is called Courage, Dear Heart, and I'd love to
Mhm.
know what the word courage means for you.
It's funny when thinking about that earlier, I actually had to look the word up because I had no idea. Like I've heard people use the word courage to like identify something, but I never really knew what it meant. Like the guy who runs into the burning building, that's courage. It was like, well, okay, like it I just didn't know. And so it said the ability to do something that you're frightened from. And I was like, huh. Well, in that case, yeah, I got a little courage with some things. And then some things I don't. But one of the things I've been experiencing here, which would be a courage type thing, is recently I realized I had been flying underneath the wing of my mentor, and I never really got out and flow through the sky myself and really face the elements, so to speak. I was just under his wing because it was so nurturing to me. It was so caring, that I didn't want that lack of security and be out here flying on my own and hit the elements myself. He has a multi-million-dollar business already. He's successful. Just stay here. It's you know, and oddly enough, we were at dinner and I realized I was scared. Like that's why. Like I was really scared because at some level I still wasn't fully trusting myself. And so once I got scared though, it made me happy because once I see it, it's like, oh, okay, cool. I know what to do. Okay, good. I'm good with that. Like I just needed to see it. So for me, I guess yeah, courage would be the ability to push through that thought that has you stuck. And it's almost like a batting average or a shooting average to sports. I'm not 100%, but I'm trending very high. The more and more, my understanding deepens. I'm trending very high. So yeah, that's
I
what I would say.
I love that. I love that because I've had my own experience and realization around exactly the same thing with my own coach that I was
Yeah.
frightened to be on my own. Now, you mentioned there about, oh, once I saw it, I'm good. Like, I know what to do. A lot of women in my community, some of them will know that language and some of them won't.
What
Would you be
got it?
able to articulate like what that means for you when you realized that you were frightened?
Yeah. So the easiest way I can do it again is through story. So I apologize to the ladies.
No, well,
But
women love story, Rob.
oh, great then,
It
perfect. Well,
speaks
we
straight to their soul.
got it. Well, we are good to go then. So I was basically going through a rough period, and I wanted to test fear. And I had heard a quote that said, "On the other side of fear is bliss." And so what happened was I thought about the thing I was most scared to do, and that was jump out of an airplane.
Mm.
And so I had it set up, get it all scheduled into it, and it was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. Like it was paralyzing fear. like to turn my feet to get ready to jump out of the airplane. So
Mm.
was able to fall into the jump without passing out. But about 3 seconds in, I realized it was nothing like I thought it was. Like I had imagined this to be the worst feeling ever, like just the stomach pit, everything, worse than a roller coaster. And it wasn't because of how dense the air is. So it literally felt like I was flying. And so within a few minutes after that, as we were coming down still, I start steering the parachute. The guy let me steer the parachute. I'm all in the GoPro cam, like, yeah, 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 rock on, you know. As we get to tree level though, he says, all right, Rob, this is what I want you to do to land. And I go, wait, we didn't talk about landing. Oh shit. Like, wait, what you mean? Like, he's like, Rob, just lift your legs up, slide in on your butt. I was like, wait, what? We were so close though. All I had time to do was listen to it.
Yeah.
So we slide in, we do the shoot off and everything, and I get up with this burst of energy because I was like, how dare you take me all the way up here and don't tell me how to land? And I was like, why didn't we talk about landing? And he was like, you didn't ask. And it was like, oh, that's what fear does. It doesn't allow you to see what truly needs to be asked and answered. It's the most important thing you probably want to know when jumping out of an airplane. One, about the parachute. I did ask that. But two, how do you land? How do you land? And it was like, I still landed though. So it wasn't that having the fear stopped anything. I still landed, but it showed me that every time I'm scared, I have to slow down enough, because it's no way, if I'm scared right now, I'm asking myself the right questions. I'm putting the wrong movie in front of me right now. Like, I know that I've tested it. And so back to the point of getting scared about flying from under my mentor, it was like, oh, because I still think my style is, because my style is completely different, or because of this, it's like, oh, I'm scared. That's a level of wanting to be accepted. Oh, that's it. And it just start crumbling. And so I that's what I love about my life, is seeing those moments. It's kind of in reverse than most. I'm up for all the shit to life. Like, I'm up for all of it. Don't like it all. I don't like it all, but I'm up for it all, in the sense that I get to experience it. Like,
Mm.
how cool is that?
It's really cool. And it's
Uh,
really cool that you are speaking about so many amazing things. I also like, that piece where you literally in the moment you have to land. You haven't got any
yeah,
choice,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
no thinking, you just did the
Yeah.
thing.
Just did the thing. Yeah.
So um somewhere on your website it says life after trauma, and you speak about that, do you?
Yeah.
Is that something you speak about?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest tools I have right now. That platform. Life after trauma was a way about living life after the traumatic experience. I noticed in my first couple of years of teaching, we kept people, or we seemed to address trauma from the trauma. That's that. And there really wasn't much talk about what a life looked like after the fact. Like, it was just these bleak places. Like, what if I know I'm good? What if I am okay? Like, there was nobody that was saying that was okay. It was like, having have a diagnosis of PTSD, I was forever having to walk with this dark cloud over my head. And it was like, I don't do that. I hate the rain. Like, it was just like, no, I don't want to do that. And so, yeah, I wanted to start talking about it in a new way. And so most of people who were finding me was like, wait, you have a diagnosis, or had came from, knowing me in the military. It's like, dude, I know where you've been. Like, how is it that you smile like that now? Oh, cool. Let's have a conversation. Let me tell you. Like, and so, even with the way I love sharing what I've seen, like the things that we use that against ourselves in those moments, when I found out they were actually the system taking care of me. So, for instance, numbness. like, oh my God, I'm so thankful for numbness, because who knows what I would have done to myself if I would have been able to feel everything at my darkest moment. Like when I'm in my lowest of moods and I'm in my darkest moment, if I wasn't numb, who knows what I would have done. So thank God for numbness,
Mm.
because it saved my life. Being able to put things in compartments to get through missions, to come back home, that saved my life. But I'd always been taught compartmentalizing and being numb. That's a bad thing. Taboo. Don't. And so here I am hiding these, what I'm thinking are superpowers. They're saving my life day in and day out.
Yeah.
I've been going through trauma since I was a kid. So this system was always protecting me. And I just had the wrong labels on it. I go in there looking for sugar, and it's salt in there. I was like, oh, I just had the tops wrong. That's all. Switch the tops, and I'm rocking my recipe, rocking.
Oh gosh, that resonates so much. Although, for different reasons, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about how you saw that. But just to say, to the women in my group or the people who might be listening, many of them know my story and the trauma that I identified with for a very long time, and the habits of behavior that actually were wisdom in action, because it got me through some really tough times. I might have judged it and identified with those behaviors for a long time, but seeing through that, and that's why my group is called the Freedom Group, because I have experienced freedom from those misidentifications with PTSD, with habits of behavior, with all of the salt pots.
That's funny you said it. You might can't see it, but that band says freedom.
Oh, does
And I've
it?
I've worn a band, and I have a drawer full of new ones, because if it snaps, I have to put it on. But I've worn this every day since the day I woke up and decided I really wanted to be here. Like I have it every day, because it was where I was at the moment, was a place that physically I didn't have freedom,
Mm.
but mentally I felt the best I had ever felt in my life. And that was one of the hugest shifts. Like, it was super wild. Right. But yeah, so freedom, I love that. I absolutely love
Well,
that.
can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because that sounded like an interesting
Oh
story.
yeah. She was like, what was that right there? That part. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so part of my darker days, I had found myself in some legal troubles. And here I am, basically running my life across this screen in my eyes, sitting in a jail cell.
Mm.
And I was crying myself to sleep and thinking, I don't want the experience of life like this.
Mhm.
Now, it wasn't so much suicidal. That's not what the feeling of it was, in a sense, but it was just like, if I had to be known as a felon, or if I had to be like, if this was my life, as I don't want it. And I remember how heavy that was on my chest. And so I cry myself to sleep like a baby. And I wake up the next morning kind of lighter. Not not all the way well, but a little bit lighter than before the cry.
Mm.
And and it was kind of like, well, wait, well, I mean, we can do something with this thing. Like, it was almost like a pep talk to myself. Like, whoa, like, wait, we ain't gonna quit. Like, no, like, come on, we could do something. And then I started. That's how my self-help journey started. I started going to the first time I'd ever been in classes that talked about love. Like, it's like people explaining what love is, or anger management, or things like that. And I'm like, oh, these are things they call problem, but this is just how I grew up. Like violence or cursing somebody out as a that's just a means of communication. Ain't no dislike. I mean, I could love you and curse you out. Like that's how I grew up. So, hearing this and starting to learn, like, oh wait, that's not right. That's a behavior that I attributed that allowed me to move through this time frame of life.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, okay. I get this PTSD thing now. All for me, the disorder. I will forever, and I'm okay with this. If a loud noise happens behind me, I will forever snatch and turn and look quickly.
Mm.
The difference, though, is this time when I look and I realize it's just a box that fell off the shelf, I come back to this conversation with Charlie. Charlie, damn box fell. All right, whoo, scared the shit out of me. All right, I'm okay. And we go on with our conversation, right? But before what used to happen is I hear that sound and I can't come back. I run the reel over and over and over of when the loud noise was a problem, when the loud noise was unsafe. And I run that reel. That's the disorder. It's not because you have experienced something traumatic. I want your stomach to sink if you're anywhere close to a situation that's remotely similar. I want the spider senses to kick up because that says slow down right here for a second. Let's look left. Let's look right. I think I went left and right. I don't know. I'm going. I'm going. But look left, look right.
Yeah, you didn't.
And but but then I slow down enough to really see what's in front of me.
Mm.
And what's in front of me is I'm in the safety of my home studio talking to you about a time that was scary. I'm not in the time that was scary. That's the distinction. It's not even a disorder, it's just a distinction. You're not there, you're here. You're thinking about there, though.
Yes.
And it makes sense that you remember it all. When we go through something traumatic, our body records it. Every one of the sensors just goes live. It's like the worst camera recording system ever because it cements this moment. And what it says is anytime Charlie is any feeling that gets remotely close to anything that recorded that day, the alarm is going off. Because we do not want to experience that shit again. Charlie, no, stay away, stay away. Whatever's projected on at that moment. Friend, family member, substance, food, whatever, the gym, whatever, that's all irrelevant. We could name a million things it's projected on.
Yeah.
But man, once I could see that distinction, this things get much, much simpler.
Yeah. I I just wanted to pause there because I think that's a very sort of profound piece of sharing that you have just done with my field. Um, and I really resonate in my own way because every time I saw a motorbike for 20 odd years afterwards, until I realized that I was replaying a movie over and over again every time I was in a car. And then I realized, like, this isn't happening now. I don't have to follow that train of thought. Obviously, it's not the same as a noise or your experience, but the movie, the going back in time presently, and I think so many people really struggle with not realizing they're in a movie, not realizing they're in an illusion.
Which that's the only thing I would probably push back on you is the story you were explaining about you was just like the story I was explaining about me. The narratives of each one of our traumatic experiences may differ, but the feeling we had in the moment of experiencing it, that's the same. And
Mm.
so one of the things I really don't like doing is qualifying or quantifying people's traumatic story. Like, oh, yours include the military and bombs, so you must this, and yours was only this, and yours was that. No, like stop, like stop. Like the moment somebody has had their livelihood threatened or challenged in a way where they thought death was imminent, that moment right there causes a set of feelings. Now, whatever that narrative was that got it for Charlie may be different for Rob, maybe different for Jenny and Sheridan and Katrina. It's the narratives. They don't even matter, honestly. They do, but they don't. You know, I don't want to discredit your stories, but I'm saying the same. And so when we see that for one another, then I know how to help you,
Mm.
right? Like if I don't get in your story, I can help you because I know the feeling. But if I get trapped up in having to fit storylines and be this and all, I can't help you. So it's beneath that for me. You know, that's what I see with trauma. It's just hearing beneath that of that person because we experience it the same. We experience it the same. Again, the narratives may be different, but I hug a sex abuser survivor. I hug them just as tight as someone who was robbed, just as tight as somebody who's been to combat, just as tight as a kid who got smacked by his mom, just as tight as a woman who had been hit by her husband. The hug, the tightness of squeezing, the support, the area of holding them. And a few of those have never happened to me personally, but I know where they are. I know where they are. And I can just sit with them there and say something different. I could tell them there's a life after trauma. I have something to point to. Man, you could come alive after this.
Mm.
And that shit at that point feels good for people to hear and know. Still your choice. Still your choice. I can't do that part. But I at least want you to know, man, like you ain't gotta carry that shit like that, bro. Like for real. You could drop it and learn and heal. And yeah, I just love everything about that message. Yeah.
So do I. So do I. Passionate about sharing it as I know you are.
Yeah. Man, you trying to make me cry over here, Charlie. Stop that shit, man. Like, come on, bro. Come on. Like, I know this all women's group, but y'all it can't be on here all crying and shit. No. All right, hold up. All right,
I
let's
thought you were feeling it, but I was like, I'm not
go.
sure.
No, I love this. I love this. Yeah. So what else? What else we can help people with?
When did you see that for yourself? Like, what was your experience in, um, or how did you come across the principles? 'Cause-
Mm, yeah, at a dinner party. Uh, I was at a friend's house, and this is a super funny story because everything about my life actually changed. So I used to see race relations much differently. I was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. So race for us was much different than the rest of the world. And my aunts played a part in getting blacks voter registration rights and things like that. So, you know, it was a little jaded. So I walk
Mm.
into this party and I look around and it's predominantly white party. So I go to the back and my friend who was throwing the party, I was like, hey, I'm just gonna chill off to the side. She was like, stop being like that, you know, being funny. And so I'm reading through a book that she had on the counter, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Let me borrow this. She was like, go talk to him. He's in the front. I was like, dude wrote this book. She was like, yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. So she pointed him out. I go accidentally bump into Michael Neal. And then
Oh my God, you're joking.
and so I accidentally bump into him. Uh and I'm trying to I wanted to talk about the book because that's obviously what caught my attention. But man, we sat and talked about everything from football. Like both of us are huge football fans. We started talking about just everything. And I remember saying, like, oh, that was a cool dude. Like that dude was cool. So we get connected again. I think we go to coffee or something. And shortly after that, he had called me up and he said, hey, I got this idea I'm trying to do it with my work. And he was like, if you're interested, you would need to be available for 3 days. And I was like, bet. And I didn't know what we was doing. I just knew he was cool and I wanted to hang out with him. So what it turned out to be was he was showing 50 people who were going through his life coaching certification course.
Mm-hmm.
He was showing them how to have a conversation with somebody who had never heard of the three principles, the things we teach. How do you start that conversation? Here I was, never heard of it before. So we're in one room and there's a video camera on us, and then there's 50 people in the next room. Now we can't see them, but we can hear them. If it gets loud over there, we can hear them and things like that. And yeah, we just had a conversation. And day one, and I'm blessed enough that it's recorded, and I could see it. But day one, it popped, and it was I think one of the first few things I began to see was I wasn't broken. A lot of that was coming into focus, um, and instantly getting a chance to trust what he was saying, or fight what he was saying. Honestly, I combated him for a while. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I wasn't going down swinging. What do you mean? I could just this and that. What are you talking about? Like, no, man. Like, I got too much. Like, you don't know where I come from. Like, I was throwing everything at him, and he just kept smiling at me. Like, I'm like, the fuck, man. Like, you don't understand, bro. Like, come on. And
So you hadn't read the book. You hadn't looked at the book that you borrowed from your friend.
yeah. By this point, I've been diving on this stuff, but I still couldn't make no sense of it because I was wrapping it in whatever other self help I was trying. I never given it its own space. I was looking at it through the lens of something else. Well, how does this apply to Christianity? Because that's predominantly how I was raised. How does this apply to? And so I never gave it clean before. Like, so I was all screwed up by the time we sat down, honestly. I was all screwed up. But there were 2 points I remember. One is, I laugh about this all the time, is the person I was that walked in told his business partner, Lynn, I told her, if I start looking like I'm about to cry, you better come get me because I ain't doing this shit. I ain't crying in front of folks. Like, and I was serious. Well, evidently that was on mic. so kind of everybody knew I wouldn't bow, I didn't want to be exposed, so to speak, or vulnerable out. And there's this moment in where I know he has me, and no shit, I just grab my water and go, Lynn. Like, but the crowd erupts in laughter. But for me in my head, it was like, oh, my world is dissolving.
Yeah.
Like, he is literally getting me to see the stress and the pain and the struggle and the this and the that I carried. Like, wait, like wait, like it was dissolving, because then it was like, well, who am I then? Like, if I don't have my diagnosis, who am I? If I don't have the story of being a army veteran, if I don't have growing up as a gang member, being big brother, if my family doesn't adore me when I come home, like, who am I? Like, if it's not my talking about my daughters or my grandson, it's not about being like, who am I? And it was like, whoa. So yeah, that's how we began. And I told him that day, I was in 2018, I was like, you stuck with me, like, you stuck. And we were just laughing about this at dinner the other day, because now I work for him. I am a master coach on his
Oh,
programs.
are you?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. So it's come full circle. So even to the point now, it's so weird that the evolution of the friendship, because he's asked me now, hey, you want to coach me on something right quick? And I'm like, wait, what? Uh, oh, okay, hello. You gotta ease that in on me. Yes, the answer is yes, but bro, like, you're still my guy, man. Give me a second before you just trust that I know what I'm doing here. Like, So that's how our relationship is now. He'll throw something at me, and I'll be like, "What? Come on, bro. Let's go. Let's get it."
Yeah, because he was on my podcast, and Steph Chibielski, if he's still
Yeah,
one of
yeah.
Michael's coaches. So yeah, he's
Steph
like
was
a
my mentor coach when I went through
who's
when
Steph.
I went through the Steph. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
love those guys. But
yeah.
that's how I came about it. And then from there, um, he kind of I love you're
Sorry,
all
my
right.
dog just.
Uh, what I love that he did, one piece, and I always have to say it when I talk about him, was he always kept pointing me back to myself. He always used to tell me it had to be me. It couldn't sound like him. It had to be, my voice and things like that. And I love that so much about him, because it took me to get out and go see the whole 3P, the whole world, so to speak, from a totally different way. Meet people and be able to say, hey, such and such. Well, yeah, hey, meet them. Like it's just been a blast. And so yeah, coming full circle to see it doesn't mean I don't want him to be my mentor or to ever look, but there is a way I want to fly in the world that's unique to me,
Well, you've got
you
it.
know.
You're doing it.
So
You
but
are
he
doing it. I mean, I think many people really do. Obviously, people put Michael, he might be the most well known.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, your voice is uniquely yours, and I think you've nailed it. You have.
Thank you. Yeah, we having some fun. We just had something else even pop. How are we for time? I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up and then go
Oh,
over
okay.
into the
Are y'all coming over? Can I ask
they'll just
my
stay there. You guys will
Oh,
just
they'll
stay
stay
there and
there.
I'll
Okay.
work out all the
All right.
timing, all the things. But just to sort of close this off or frame this particular
Okay.
podcast episode for the folks listening, do you have anything you would love to leave them with?
Um, yeah. Have the courage to believe that there is a life after trauma. The behaviors, the time, all of the factors, I get it. But but you can still enjoy this life. And if the actions just I'm just asking you to look at it. When the triggers happen, just look. And if you're not in danger, let the trigger pass. You know, just try to see if you're no longer in danger and need those behaviors that are stressing you or causing inflammation in the body. So just have the courage to know there's a life after trauma. Um, and I love you.
Thank you very much, Rob, and the ladies in the Freedom Group who are listening with us. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening. I will put all Rob's details in the show notes. But for now, it's a very warm goodbye from me and from Rob. Thank you, Rob.